I forget.
Got that music playing, but if you want to turn it down, you're more than welcome.
Probably won't.
I'll be teaching when we get my back.
Yeah. Yeah, I tried to, so my problem is, as a musician, I can't just listen to music in the background, especially if it has like words and lots of different pieces. Because I like dive into it mentally. And so if we had this on, you'd hear me like go off. And you're like, that beat on that melody, it's not gonna work. So we're not gonna do that.
It's Alexa, you get to be quiet.
Just watch her go on.
Yeah. It'll happen. All right, it's 10:01 and we're recording and we're screen sharing. So I taught this class before and did not record it. But we want to make this a class for Alexa, stop. We want to make this a class for every new agent to the market center. And as I discovered the first time that I went through it, it's helpful for even seasoned agents. In fact, sometimes it's even more helpful for seasoned agents because we get in our click patterns, don't we? And we don't always know what else is out there. So if we haven't met, if we haven't connected, my name is Kate Murphy. I am downstairs in a little office downstairs next to the mail room, so we didn't see each other in passing. But I like to just call myself a little bit of a thinker, so I kind of follow the rabbit trails of buttons to see what we can find. So what I do want to encourage is if we go through this class with these processes, and you have other ideas, other ways that you use the tool that I'm talking about or the button that I'm talking about, please raise your hand, speak up, because since we are going to record this for all of our new agents, it helps to just like, let's dump all of our knowledge into one big pot, and then we'll all benefit from it as well. If you have any questions, we have time to stop and answer those. If we start to go down a detailed trail, you'll see that I'll put it on pause since we are recording. You can always revisit the buttons that I clicked. You can always come back to it once it's posted on the YouTube page. Okay. So, any questions before we get started? Okay, I'm going to have my note sheet up here. There are a lot of things to cover, so I like to make sure that I don't breeze over something. It's easy to do as you go through, each button on the page. It's easy to kind of just skip over it, but don't want to do that. All right, so I'm logging in here. I invite you all to click along, follow along with me. What we got on Zoom here? We got 6 folks on Zoom. All right, y'all. Good stuff.
I love you, Kate.
Well, that's so funny. Look, I owe my quarterly dues. Why isn't it automatic? I don't know. Anyway, so let's begin here. This is the dashboard. And it's okay to be honest in this space, who tends to just go straight to matrix, maybe some realist, and they leave it at anybody? Really? Okay, cool. Oh yay, there's so much good stuff here. Now on some of our wider screens, you're going to be able to see more than I see here. It's just going to be more spread out. So which is a good thing for the video. It'll be a bit compressed here, but I think you'll get the idea. We're going to talk about all of this. Okay. So up front with this balances, when the MLS moved to quarterly dues that we pay ourselves now. So this is where it's going to say if you owe the association any money, which you can see clearly here for all of recorded history that I do. I know, right? I just saw it for the first time 2 days ago, so I'm still doing fine. Okay. Hey, listen, I'm real. Yeah, no. We got a calendar here from the association, lots of good classes. Again, if it's more spread out, you get a little hint of what they are. But it'll say the classes, the committee meetings, all that good stuff. So keep an eye out here. You can change your widgets. It's usually more visible. How to change the widgets that are showing here. Like you can compress them. You should be able to move them around. I know on my other screen I can. Market stats, this just shows you who, does anyone pay attention to this right here? The market stats? Okay. This right here is straight out of InfoSparks, and we're going to talk about InfoSparks as well. I'll try not to go too deep down that rabbit hole, but it's a great resource. But you can see, you know, our month's supply here. This is as a whole market. One thing I want to note throughout this class and throughout all of our searches, because we now are integrated with the Raleigh MLS, these numbers reflect everything that we can see. So it includes Raleigh numbers. If you want to give a market update to your clients or just be educated on, you know, the county where you're working, you'll want to refine that, and we'll talk about what to look like. But I would say it's safe to say that if you are focusing only on Fayetteville, these are not accurate numbers, okay? Because it's Raleigh to Lumberton, okay? But it's a good macro picture. There's nothing here in the news and events. This is where you're going to see little showing time alerts if you've gotten feedback. I mean, I think it's all pretty self-explanatory, but it's a good thing to check. And then you've got just some additional links down here. Okay. Does anyone else see another widget on their screen that needs explaining? I feel like it's a little compressed here, but all right, let's talk about what each of these are. I won't click on everything because some of it is its own tool lesson. Like, I'm not going to teach you how to use Transaction Desk to its fullest extent, but I do want you to know that you can access it here. The matrix, we're going to go through that. Who is not familiar with Realist? And it's okay to be honest. Okay, then I will spend time on it. This is a resource to find out the public record information on a property. Give me an address. Address.
Good.
2012 Cobblestone Place, Fayetteville.
Search. So kind of two ways that I use Realist. This is like a public record information sheet. I'll print this off for a listing before going out there. This is just a great snapshot. Says, is this correct, right? They're going to verify square footage anyway, but if there's any major change, they should be able to tell you. It also looks like you know your stuff when you bring all this information to them. So I think it's pretty straightforward. It's going to tell you a lot of the stuff that you'll see in the tax tab of the MLS listing of a house, but a little bit more detail as well. Okay. What I also like to do is, so there's the previous sales and listing information here, but below that, it's also got mortgage history. So if you have somebody who has refinanced a house recently, that may show up here. It doesn't always, but it's something to think about. If you're trying to calculate estimate, let's say you're a buyer's agent putting in an offer, you want to guess at how much equity the seller has, like how much of a margin. This is a great way to find out, because you won't find this in the tax tab, but you can find out the mortgage history on that house to see if, you know, there's a chance that that seller has a ton of equity or if they're cutting it close. It's really an estimate, but just be aware of that. What I love about this, and it's a recent discovery with this map, you can overlay flood zones and school districts. Now, the school district is, it's a bit county dependent on how it's reported. So here's, this is like the universal sign and maps for layers. So these are all layers that you can add in. It varies the level of detail. Let me just show you this. I'm going to take out school district because that's not very informative, right? Oh, it's the Cumberland County Schools, great. But here you can see the Fayetteville city limits. According to this, I still like to go to the Fayetteville, like the city resources, because remember, Realist is just an aggregator of data. Okay. Other layers, let's see, neighborhood, and add by zip code. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. Now, these are obviously not like neighbor down to the subdivision type of neighborhoods. This is in the 71st area. This is in the Jack Britt area when what we call neighborhood in that way. That's what we got going on here. Okay. All right. So there's a lot more to play with Realist, but just wanted to kind of show you what we've got, that the potential that this has for your research. Okay. Questions before I move on from Realist? Cool, moving on. Showing time, this is not a class on showing time. We could dig into that a little bit more too. But if you wanted to access showing time deeper than just the app and scheduling showings, you can do showing carts here. So if you had 10 properties that your buyer wants to see, you can select them all in the MLS, hit showing time, and then you can start a showing cart so that you can track, you can like make a,
Can you start over now before you get too far? You said you can select 10.
Oh, yeah, and make a route with it.
yeah,
Save
you
you
can
so
make a
much
route.
time.
It's so cool.
Yep.
It's so
Yeah, I
cool.
never selected 10 and then it made the route. That's all I was like.
Yeah,
So you saying like it would show you which stuff is posted,
it's very cool.
do that.
Yeah. Will you remind me when we're in the search function and we're playing with the searches, will you say, hey, Kate, let's pick 10 to show, and we'll try to get it spread out over a zip code. Just remind me when we're there and we'll do that. Okay. That's really the main thing that I use the desktop showing time for. Is there anything else that anyone else uses this for beyond the regular app on the phone?
I just use it to go ahead and give feedback on everything that I showed that day,
Oh, okay.
just because it's all in one place.
Oh, that's a good idea. Yeah. Okay.
What you were talking about is showing cards. Is that, you can do that in the app as well?
I have not.
Easier to navigate.
I haven't seen it. I haven't done it in the app.
Oh,
I've done one showing at a time, but like, let's say my buyer's coming in from out of town, we want to go see 10 houses. If you can do it in the app, that's awesome. I've never really been able to do it that way. Well, I'll show you when we get there to those houses. Like, you can arrange your showing times and your map all to make sense for your route. And I don't think you can do that in the app. And if you can, that's awesome.
I do it, I use my maps, but
Got it. Yeah. So this will, I see what you're saying there, and I've done that too. This is different. You'll see.
okay.
It'll be more efficient if I do it while we're in search. If I try to go back now, we'll lose time, but don't let me forget, okay?
I think somebody had something on Zoom.
Yeah, Zoom, jump in.
Yes, I had a question about realist. I hate to go back to it. Like, do you know how to do it where you can pull up the address in other neighborhoods to do the mailers?
To do the mailers, I do. Hold up. Let me come back to that, because yes, I know what you're
Right.
talking about. I'm trying to remember the click
It's like, I
path.
think it's under my search or something like that. Then you type in what subdivision, but
Yes.
sometimes. Okay.
Yep. Let me come back to that, because and I'm glad you raised that. It's something we should all, let me see here. So, let's see. Okay, let me play with that, because we've done it before, but I can't place it right now, but I think we should.
And I can show you how I do it.
Yeah, do it. Yeah, for sure.
Do you want to do it at the end so we can keep the?
I like it. Can you help me remember that?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Okay, so thanks for raising that. We should definitely cover it, and we will do that at the end. So jumping in, you've got fast stats and you've got info sparks. They're both related, and they're both pulling data from our MLS and our showing time. Fast stats tends to be more macro trends. So at the county level, zip code level, and then they're over time. But let me just show you here. Okay, that works too. View the report. So this is for the zip code of 28306, and you can see the kind of data that it's showing you. You can also do this by county, by town, like Southern Pines or Fayetteville. Okay. Monthly indicators. I like this here. Let's see, May 2023. So this is across the whole market during a certain month. And then it will break down a printed version of what I'm about to show you in InfoSparks. Okay. But these are, again, it's just fast stats, and pretty much all of it comes out as a PDF. It's not dynamic in the same way that it is in InfoSpark. Okay. But this is showing I won't, I guess a class on deciphering and interpreting market data is a topic in and of itself. But for now, just know that you can find this information here, okay? Let's go to InfoSparks, my favorite little thing. Don't let me dwell too much here because I'll spend too much time, but what you can do is break down. First, you want to start with the area you want to cover. Remember, we talked about this goes from Raleigh to Lumberton. So maybe you want to focus on specific counties. I just recorded a market update for our marketing yesterday, and I had it for Cumberland, Hoke, and Harnett. Recognize that if you pull up something like Moore County, that is maybe in our market, if you cover that, but outside of our MLS, the data is going to be a bit skewed. You'll see the numbers are arguably representative, but just a fraction of reality. So you know, you could do Cumberland County. I'll just add one more here, Hoke, and then we'll do the entire MLS here. So, you know, you can compare the data for the market that you care about to the whole MLS. You could delete this area. You could refine by price range. You could refine by, you know, if I only want to look at single family townhomes and townhome and condos, any kind of criteria you want here, you can refine your results by that. Let's say you have a client who's having a really hard time finding what they want. Like, well, it has to have been built after 2010, at least 3 bedrooms and in this $50,000 price range. Then you can be like, cool, there have been 10 homes that hit the market in this entire county in the last 2 months, just as an example. You can use this data to help them understand how rare what they're looking for is, okay? So you can look at sales price, the difference between median and average. Who wants to jump on that? Mika?
I was in the last.
Did that right?
Yeah, yeah, average is the sum
It's hard to describe,
added,
right?
divided, yeah.
Yeah, so the median is if you have a long list,
Yeah.
it's just the middle. So you could have a whole bunch of like 4s underneath, but this is the middle in the list. The average is the sum of all that divided by the numbers. It's like the typical price range. The reason I say that is because the data is different for both, okay? And again, different class for another day, but these are the kinds of things that you can pull up. Pending sales, days on market, the amount of showings that house has before pending. This data is pulled straight from showing time. Percent of list price, things like that. Okay, so this is InfoSparks, and the benefit to you is that it's dynamic for you to adjust as you go to fit what you're looking for. Okay. Cloud CMA is a tool to you that you can build your CMA on. Some people use RPR, some people use Cloud CMA, some people use Matrix. A different class for another day of how to do this. I know I did it before Triangle data merged with Longleaf because it was pulling from all public record. So it was helpful if you had something that was in an area where both Triangle had houses, but I haven't done one in a long time through Cloud CMA because we're merged now. Okay. Let's see here. eProperty Watch, you can drop an address in there and get updates every month. I did my own home as a test, and so now I'm getting property value updates through eProperty Watch. Yeah.
Where do you go here?
Where do I go?
Yeah, do you, oh, okay. I did see
Yeah,
that.
so sorry, it's this eProperty Watch.
Right, I was on the next page, to put the address in.
Yeah, well, no, it's like checking my, here we go.
Oh, okay, I see.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm the only one that I've ever done, because I ended up actually subscribing to HomeBot. But yeah, so I would just say play around with this, but it's pretty cool because you'll send it to yourself every month.
So it basically just tells you the value of the homes in the neighborhood.
Yeah, you know how you get his estimate, or you'll see his estimate for every address. It's a similar technology,
Yeah.
but it's updating that client by name personally on there. So you could put your clients on here and it's free to you.
Okay.
So it's a way to keep them posted. And then, you know, I always caveat to my clients, no matter what source I'm using, is you want to know the market value today. If you were to list it, let's talk, because this is just a range. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. RPR, who does not use RPR. I'm not asking you this to call you out. It's so that I know whether to actually talk about it or not. Okay, all right. Very, very quickly, I think RPR is fantastic. This is sponsored, I want to say, or driven by NAR. So there is a ton of data that is aggregated into RPR when you want to look at a neighborhood as well. You could also pull up neighborhood reports, I want to say in InfoSparks, but when I had buyers who were very interested in appreciation and the growth that was happening around them, we would do I would set up a report and I would send in print it off in PDF and I sent that to them as a reference. So it just looks really good. Maybe one thing that I'm not doing that should be this, you could do this for every buyer, you know, at the closing table, hand them the market report of their neighborhood using this right here. I won't dig into how to pull the report, but for the sake of understanding matrix, I want you to know this is there and spend some time clicking around in it. Okay.
You can also pull a really nice CMA.
That's right.
Pictures and graphs.
That's right. Yep. That's I think Alex, you use RPR for CMAs? Yeah.
Is it, do you have to put the information in or?
You actually put the address in, and if you can do it real quick, put the address in, it should kind of give you like you said, kind of similar like an estimate too.
So it pretty much does the work for you.
Yeah, let's
On
see
a
here.
lower level.
Create a CMA.
Well, I was saying if you punch in the address, it usually kind of give you like
I
what
got you.
it would be.
What's that address?
3012
Mm-hmm.
Helmsman, HELMSMAN Drive.
Yeah, so down there. Or,
Okay, so this is like the kind. Does that look accurate?
No, I have a house. That's actually my address. That's probably when they broke ground and building.
Yeah, that's the last people street view there, but you
Yeah.
could but and it does have a house on record there too. So oh yeah, that's a great point. So you can confirm the facts. It'll ask you, oh, that's right, I've done one of these before here. It'll ask you beds and baths, square footage, you confirm it. You can select your comps here and you can add your adjustments by line item here as well. So it makes a really nice, pretty report.
So those would just be on there. If it's on the market is what those would be blue over on the right hand side. Like under confirmed facts, if you scroll down,
Okay.
it would be blue, like find comps, adjust comps, if it's on the market.
No, this is the step you take. So you would confirm your facts first, then you can find your comps.
Okay.
Yeah, this is the step you're on. Yep. So yeah, by all means, y'all dig into this. That's part of the goal of this class too, is especially this front part where we can't go through every tool in detail. At least you know that, hey, that's something I need to spend some time on. And if we need to do a class on that, we can definitely do so. Just flag it. I'm opening this up real quick. So core logic and matrix being the technology behind what we use here in the association, you can access all kinds of Q&A and learnings about how to maximize your productivity using these tools by tools. So matrix, you've got a bunch of FAQ and like classes. They're just quick classes most of the time. So consider checking that out if you want to learn and optimize how you're working. Okay. Zip forms, I won't spend a lot of time here, but zip forms is a place where you can access, and I have to log in and my password's not saved, so we're not going to do that. But just know that zip forms is a place where you can access a lot of the same forms that you've got on DocuSign. It won't have our Keller Williams specific forms in there unless you've uploaded them. But what personally, I like zip forms because the way it fills in the forms, it's very professional. You know, it'll have like the name of the signer underneath the signature line, just things like that. And it looks really nice. Our DocuSign is linked or can be linked to zip forms. So you can start a room in zip forms and access those documents from DocuSign. You can import them and still send them for signature using DocuSign, which is linked to command. So that's why I still like to keep DocuSign in the mix. But you can use zip forms to create the forms. It also maps your net sheet itself without you having to do the math on that sheet. So anyway, class for another day, but just know that it's here and it's accessible from this dashboard, okay? So let's go into the meat and potatoes here with matrix. Let me pull up my notes, make sure that I did not miss anything yet. All right. So the dashboard is this right here, obviously. You can see a snapshot of your listings. You can also move your widgets around. So if mine doesn't look like yours, that's why. You can add widgets as well, I believe. You just want to, you want to make sure that it fits the priorities that you have here. Okay. Using alerts straightforward from the that are from the association. A lot of those things that pop up and you have to approve that you've seen it, they'll show up here. This market watch shows I think the max of the last 7 days here, but it shows the number of these what we call like the language of real estate, some of your macro numbers that you can. This is such a great tool for recording a quick video. Hey, we've had more homes sell than we've had come on the market. What does that tell us, right? Questions here?
So if your homepage is set up like that, where you have yours, like where?
Click on Matrix, Alex, and you'll arrive at a version of this. This is your Matrix dashboard. So if you come up here, you'll see dashboard. It'll take you right here.
Okay.
Okay. Yep, no worries. And you can move this yourself. We're going to talk about auto emails that are in concierge mode. But this is where if you, for instance, if you know you have a very picky buyer and you don't want to send them a bunch of spam, you want to be able to filter everything that goes to them so it looks like you're paying attention. You can use concierge mode in your auto emails, and the listings will come to you first to approve or reject to send to them. And this is where now you have to make sure you're actually doing it and sending them, or they're not going to get anything from you.
Right.
But these came in this morning and I need to review them. I'll show you. It's actually good. I'll show you what that looks like. Okay. External links, these go through the same things that we just saw on the long leaf page. They're right here. Okay. You could search from here too if you want. I don't use that tool personally, but you might. Here is a summary of your listing, your search carts. Now, carts are different than an auto email, but for what it's for, just know that this is a cart, not an auto email. So for instance, if you are working with an investor and you always want to stay up to date on what the latest investment opportunities are that fit their criteria, but you don't want an auto email constantly updating both of you, but you want to check it every day or two. This is where you could save listings into a cart, and we'll talk about how, and they would show up here. Pretty much all of these are outdated for me because I use auto emails more than carts, but there are different ways to go about capturing listings that fit and reviewing them. Okay. Who here does not use auto emails yet?
I'm brand new, so I don't do.
That's all right. You're going to raise your hand for all of it. I like it. Okay, that's cool. But so most of you know you do use auto emails. It seems like so you'll send your buyers to one home to review. If your buyers are very active in what's sent, they're hearting, they're loving listings, or they're sending you a note, which doesn't notify us as far as I know. I haven't found the trick for getting a notification. That makes me crazy. This is where it's going to summarize it for you. So I have a couple of buyers who like to interact on that site. So I have to pay attention to this. Okay. And this will just let me know, like, who has been recently looking. Like, I haven't talked to her in a couple of weeks. I thought she wasn't looking, but it looks like she is, right? So this is a good way to pay attention to what people are looking for, right? Home visit. That was a tile on the first page. Personally, it's a relatively new tool that we have in the association. I do not use this. It's a paid service that you have a discount for. So that's another class in and of itself, but it's a way to market the listings that you have if you weren't with Keller Williams and have the great command suite that we do. Okay. Okay. Any questions here? Nope. Moving on. Summary. So this may or may not be helpful to you, but this is a summary of really just this data here. The total listings, there's 10,000 out there right now, and 80 contacts that are in my database. And then, you know, and you can very quickly click to, you know, any of these macro categories. So you could quickly click to your auto emails. I'm going to show you the other way to get there. Okay, pretty straightforward on this summary. Your contacts. These are, they are your contacts. This is where when you set up an auto email to go to send listings to your contacts, you're first going to set up their contact card, email, phone number if you want them to receive listings via text, because that is an option as well. And then any other description that you want to add to them. And so it will then, once you set up their email, it will automatically put them in your contacts list here. Okay.
The reverse prospect. Do you know more about that? I turn mine off every time, because from my understanding, other people can like send them stuff.
So I don't know that they can, and anyone else jump in if you know this thoroughly. I don't think they can send them stuff directly, but they can send you stuff based on knowing what the criteria is.
Yeah, so like if you have reverse prospecting turned on and your list, like you send somebody Kate's listing, Kate can see that you sent that listing and it allows her to reach out to you and say, hey, I saw you sent my listing on 123 Main Street to your buyer. Do they have any interest?
Okay.
Yeah. So that's contacts I think are pretty straightforward. There are, and we're going to go through more what goes into those in a minute here. So let's see here. All right, my listings. There are a couple of different ways to add and edit. Well, to edit and to dig into your listings. We'll talk more about that here at Add Edit. But here, if you have listings that are in multiple different statuses, you can pull them here. You can also pull My Office active listings. So if you want to be able to market somebody's listing and you want to quickly find someone who is at Keller Williams, listing that's active at Keller Williams, just do that. Go to My Office active listings. Okay, maybe even I see it. Do we have an office coming soon? I don't see that. So yeah, it's just, that's an option. You can also look for open houses. There's a way to put open houses in your listing so that it populates to Zillow. And so then you can look for open houses that are coming up in the next 7 to 30 days. If you wanted to attend them, send them to your buyers. Okay. Okay. Auto emails. All right. We'll talk about how to make an auto email shortly, but this is where, so I know when I send out an auto email update for listings to a buyer, I make sure that I always get the email as well. So I don't always have to visit this unless I want to scrub the results that they're getting. So I'll go in here, I'll look at their results, and this shows me everything that fits the search criteria that I sent them. And it also shows the date that it was emailed. So since these updates go out at 6 in the morning, everything's gone out for today, but sometimes you'll see like either none or not sent. And that just means that, you know, it's on the market, but because of the settings, it hasn't gone to your buyer yet. Okay. You can also see, again, this is where they interact, favoriting the listings as well. The numbers here that say TR, those are triangle MLS listings. Okay. Questions about auto emails so far?
I have a question. I just missed it. Hi, Kate.
Hi.
Would you please show again how to pick open homes that coming in soon? Open houses.
Oh, it was under my listings. You can search for all different kinds of my listings.
Okay.
In this case, I was going to My Office, so that's Keller Williams-Fayetteville. My Office active listings. Okay, right now it's set to show 10. You can make it show 100. Okay, so these are our Keller Williams active listings, it looks like. I'm trying to scroll to the right here a little bit here. Yeah, so these are everything that Keller Williams-Fayetteville has that's active on the market right now. Okay. All right. This little Zoom thing. Oh, great. Are we going to do those, guys?
I have a question about the auto emails.
Mhm.
You said you email it to yourself. What email does it come from?
Like when it goes to the client, is it coming from this website? It's not coming from your own email? It looks like it's coming from you. I'm gonna talk about how to set up your marketing profile in this, at some point in here too. In fact, maybe now it's just as good a time to jump to that. But it'll say like coming from like Catherine Murphy.
Okay.
But it's not coming from your command or your Keller Williams email. It's actually you in one home. Okay. So I'll show you this real quick. Settings. This is what it looks like when you set up an auto email. Okay. You have to have your contact saved here. Now this is different than, and we'll talk about this in a minute, having listings that you just send as a one-time thing to an email. Like if someone calls you, hey, can you send me anything that fits here? You can send it to an email without the contact being saved. But if it's an auto email, they have to be saved. I select BCC me on a copy of all emails, and then it will come to me. And they make a point to say like, this is not what it looks like. There's a thing that the banner that says this, it looks, you know, it doesn't look the exact same going to your client. And you can add, what I like about this too, and I'm starting to integrate with my clients, is sending them a link via text message. Like, hey, is it easier for you to get listings via text? Because what do? We send Zillow via text. Why wouldn't we send this up via text? But you would put their phone number in there and they'd have to opt in. So it's something to offer them. You can make the criteria whatever you want it to be. And you can make this message could say nothing. It could be more specific, like how I've got mine set up here. Because I want them to know that why, if there's something, this will happen all the time. They send you something that wasn't on your list.
Yes.
And then you can tell them like, this is what is on your list. If it's outside of that, it's not going to be on your list. That's the implication here. I have set up my signature here. Let me see if I can, yeah, I'll show you where we do that in the profile. But I guess you could do it here too. So I've added, you know, my information here, download my app. That's the Keller Williams app that I'm having them do through One Home if they want. Okay. And then if you ever forget what criteria you put in, because you'd have to navigate out of this page to see it, this is the reminder. They won't see that, but you're seeing that. Enabled or disabled is, are they getting the email or not? If you disable it, like once they go under contract, which is always a good idea, so they don't get buyer's remorse, then you'll want to come in and disable the auto email update. It also doesn't look good when you still send them listings and you've got them under contracts, like you're not paying attention. So email or enabled means it's on. And enable concierge, you know what I'm talking about? I mean, I do that.
I haven't really set it up, but I would be the one that they would still get.
I do it all.
I do, and it's not till I get the BCC. So again, all for recorded history, all my flaws. Okay, enable concierge mode. That's what we talked about, where it goes through you as a filter first. If you're going to do that, be prepared to be on it. I'm also not aware of a way for you to filter the concierge mode options without you being at a computer. So just be aware of that. If you think you'll be concierging a lot, it's not convenient to not do from a computer, okay? And favorite search on the home tab. Remember, we looked at those searches. Right now, this is an auto email. It is not a saved search. Okay, and for the most part, I don't do those. I guess we could, but I don't. The schedule, the sending schedule. Okay, if you know you have a buyer who is in a competitive situation where like we got to get in a house fast if we have a chance at getting something for you. And they have a pretty specific range. Like I know these buyers have like 10 options right now, not very many. You can set it to be ASAP. So as soon as the listing agent hits submit that listing, we get an email instantly.
Oh.
Yeah. You could also set it to be daily, where it goes out every morning. It's at 6 a.m. and it goes out, you know, or you could say like, I only want them to get it 3 times a week. So you would hit daily and select the 3 days you wanted them to get it a week. If you know that you have somebody who is moving to the area, you know, and like later this year, and they're not ready for updates, but you do want to kind of stay in front of them and keep them fresh on the market, say monthly. And they'll just get an update about what the market looks like for their criteria every month until it's go time and it's time to start looking more seriously. Okay. So these are when you set up a search that meets your client's criteria and you say, auto email, these are the settings. I'll show you how we get there, but these are the settings that you're going to set up for your client. Okay.
Hey, what
would it set it up if it was coming soon also, or is it just for what's active?
It's coming soon as well. So as you'll see, you can turn any search into an auto email. You can send sold if for whatever reason you wanted to know anytime something sold that fits criteria, anything you can search in Matrix, you can turn into an auto email. So if you, since we can select coming soon and active, I'll have it send them coming soon as well. Okay. Oh, oops, okay. So that was auto emails. Saved searches are, similar in concept. We'll see here. That's not a good one because there weren't a lot of options. This one's probably a good one. So you set up your criteria, right? And then you can also look for results. So if you don't want updates all the time, but you do want to have a search that you can quickly pull up, the criteria is not going to change, you're watching it over time. This is a way to do that with a home search, like a saved search. Questions on the differences between saved searches and auto emails? Cool.
That's all things I never know.
Good. Sent emails. Every email that leaves the system is captured here. I had a situation where a buyer sent me a listing and I was like, wait, I should have sent that to them. Did I send that to them? And I was able to come in here and pull it up. And I could also see on their list the date that it was sent. So I was, okay, good. She did get that from me. She's just a little behind in reading it. I'm a perfectionist. Okay, so these are all the emails that have gone out. My CMAs, pretty straightforward. I do all my CMAs in the MLS. I don't use Cloud CMA or RPR, but that's just a preference thing. Okay, this is where you access it. Today is not a class on how to build a CMA, just know that they're here. Okay. If you need to start a CMA, you go to there's a couple ways you could do that, but the way that I often do it is right here, go to CMAs, start a new CMA. Okay. Questions there? When we talked about what home visit was, again, this is a paid service, one that I don't subscribe to, so I can't show you very much there, but look into it if you're interested.
Why did RPR have that same screen for me? When I go on to it, it's asking me to log in or create an account.
Yeah.
I had
For RPR? For RPR or home visit?
RPR.
So they're all linked through the same NAR/association subscription. So to me, that says if I'm getting that for home visit, you're getting that for RPR. It's something to do with the accounts, like that tool's acknowledgement of your email address. So I would try logging in because I didn't have that for RPR, but just home visit. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
I'll try it.
I could, it's
Yeah.
not acknowledging my email because I think I had the name changed.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't remember my NERDS number. It says you can only
You
do that.
You can find your NERDS
Yeah,
number.
you can go Lone Leaf's website and get your NERDS number.
Yeah.
There's also, if
You
you
can drop down.
Google find my NERDS number,
Oh, yeah.
it's at NAR. Like you put in a couple of data
It's
points
way
and you can
quicker.
find it. Yeah. All right, so let's get into the nuts and bolts of the MLS here. Okay, we're gonna go through the search button by button. Okay. All right, so look, first of all, when we look at the search here, we're about halfway through. Okay, so these are all the different kinds of searches that you can do. They're pretty straightforward, right? You have farm, lots and land, residential, most of us hang out here, commercial, but there's also, I want to pull out, there's this cross property, which is all of those different kinds of properties. So if you know that like your client, they're looking for residential, but they're also open to a lot that has a minimum acreage and you want to be able to send it to them all at once, this is a way to do that. Could be a way to do it. I mean, you're still dealing with like a minimum bedroom where you're not going to have that on lots and land. But if you know, like, hey, I still just want to be able to pull up everything that's in a certain neighborhood, like they want anything in a neighborhood. This is a way to do that. Okay. So that's cross property. And then, but we're going to hang out mostly in residential today. And then after we go through residential, I'll talk to you about like, how you can pull open houses, history on a property, but let's do this. Okay. So this is fun part. Want to make sure I get this up here. All right. Status. Dean, you were asking about if you could send coming soons. Here's, I mean, it's the same way you would search for any status in a search, okay? One thing to note is that, you know, you can search for something that say sold. It's going to give you a default of something that has sold in the last 180 days, 6 months. No worries. Know that this is by days. So if you want to say 9 months, you would change this to 270. Or if you want to pull everything, you're CMAing, you want to pull everything in the last year, then that's where you would, that's how you adjust that. So the unit of measurement here is a day, is by days. You could also do anything over 365 days. Okay, pending, leased, expired, and withdrawn. I mean, I think these are all pretty straightforward questions on statuses and like what they mean, what they don't mean, units of measure. Okay.
Real quick, Kate,
Yes, ma'am.
the coming soon, when it asks for an option to put a date in, how does that correlate? What should we be looking for? Do we just pick today's date? Does that mean coming soon started today, so it'll go live within a week, or?
Are you talking about this little box here?
Yes, ma'am.
So we can only have things in coming soon status for up to 21 days.
Okay,
In our association. So I just leave this blank. I leave both active and coming soon blank.
okay, so we don't have to put a date.
You know, you don't have to. These can stay blank. It's just you put the time frame if you do want to limit the parameters,
Gotcha.
right?
Okay.
So for the sake of what we're doing today, I'm gonna go ahead and put this back to 180. I'm going to unclip these. If it keeps up with me. Of course it might. Yeah, woohoo, love it. Okay. We'll talk about maps in a second. Price here, so you are searching by, you're removing those 3,000, those 3 zeros, right? So if you are looking for a home that is priced between 120,000 to 200,000 or 220, it would look like this. Right? So if you put in 120,000, that looks like 1.2 million. Right, to our system. It's gonna be like, oh, we don't have anything except in Raleigh. All right. Street number, street name, street prefix. One thing I want to show you here is, let me just show you here, 8321 Whitewood Court. If you type in this whole address, there is a chance you're not going to get the house that you're looking for. The best practice here is to type in the street number and just the name, or even a part of it. Like, let's say it's Blue Falcon. You would say, you could even just put 8321 Blue. And it's going to give you a couple of options. I mean, that's actually a good example. Let's do that real quick. Blue. And then I'm going to hit search. You have 2 options. So it's where the street name is like blue and it's like 8321 and that little star. I'll show you what that means in a second, like anything, or street name is like blue. I always go to that second one. Oh, that's because there's no 8321 blue. Let's see. Sorry, guys. It's a bad example. So this is everything that has blue in the address, okay? You're like, I can't remember the name. I know it's active. I kind of know where it is on the map. Has blue in it. Type blue in there and scroll to that part of the map. See if you can find it. Okay. All right, let's go back to regular criteria. All right. So the price, we talked about that. Bedrooms. You want, now I would also say, always check these little question marks. They tell you exactly how to search for what you're looking for. If you want a range, if you know you want a minimum of 3, it'll tell you how to put that in, say 3+, right? If you type in 3 bedrooms here, like, well, I want at least 3 bedrooms and at least 2 bathrooms. You're only going to get homes that have 3 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms. If you want something that's at least 3 or at least 2, you need to put a plus sign here, okay? All right. Okay. Most people don't care as much about rooms. HOA, no, yes, voluntary. The one thing I'll say about this is triangle data is not required to fill this out. So the more refined you get, the harder it is to make sure that you're pulling triangle listings in that area. So typically if I know, well, okay. hold up, I'm getting ahead of myself here. Just know that this is one of those categories that you're not going to see filled out on the triangle listing, so you're limiting your options if you stay there. Year built, if you have a client who says, I don't want a home any older than 2010. 2010 plus. Right? Or you're like, hey, I don't want polybutylene to be an issue, so it needs to be built after 1995. Right? Or if you have someone who's looking for a historic property, you would put the date range in there, 1900 to 1950. Okay. Garage, yes, no, or nothing. You don't have to fill this out at all. Remember that these are all limiting criteria. If you don't fill it out, then you're leaving it wide open, right? Square foot range. This is where I wanted to talk about the triangle. So the long leaf MLS has these ranges, but the triangle MLS does not. So if I actually fill this out with the range that I know that they want, I'm not going to get triangle listings. The way you do that is through the livable square foot. Here, I'm actually gonna, let me pull something up here. Who's got an app here? I'll do this. All right. Okay. Maybe it'll show up. There we go. All right. There we go. So here we have the livable heated square feet. Okay. Oopsies. I wanted it to show up here. That's different than the range, right? So when we go down to additional fields, if you have not added this to your MLS search, you're not going to be able to find it. Okay. So you go to add remove, and then you can add livable heated square footage. So that is different than the range. So if you wanted to find a home that had at least 1,400 square foot, you would put that here. So now for my client, this is what I use. I don't even use that range anymore because triangle uses this field and we use this field. So it's the one common data field for heated square foot area. Okay.
Are you able to show one more quick time how you got there?
To this, so that to add that?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. So if you go to additional fields, scroll down, go to add remove. I've added all of these over time. Like I know they want a pool, or I know, and you don't have to fill these out, but these are other things that I might have a client want something of, or if I know that there's been a time where I know I wanted to find a listing that was listed by a certain agent, I would put that in there. Okay. Water source. I don't want a well, for instance. If I want a property in Hope Mills that is not on a well, you can add water source and you can select, I'll show you how here, no well. So square footage showed you that right here. So water source. If it says a well, I can hit not, and anything in Grays Creek or Hope Mills that's on a well will not show up in my results. Yep. Now this assumes they filled it out, right? But just know that it won't show up if they did say that it's a well. That's different than saying an or. An or means, yes, I want something that has a well. Not is don't show me those. So for investors, if I want something that's under foreclosure or short sale, here, if I have a buyer who is not very competitive right now, and we don't want any homes that are new to the market, I don't even want them to see something that's been on the market less than a week, days on market.
Oh, wow.
7+. It's under, these are the fields that I've added. And really, you don't add them all at once necessarily. You add them as you have specific situations for your client come up.
Okay.
If I have someone who they are adamant as they want a community pool, they will not move to a neighborhood that doesn't have a pool. I mean, we all know what neighborhoods those are, but I go ahead and I'm like, let's add that to amenities. Now, the danger in that is that if an agent didn't fill it out to its fullest extent, then you're not going to see that. So you need to know that can be helpful for a quick scrub. And I'll show you another way to find that as well. But just know that that's great until an agent doesn't really fill out the listing, and then you're not going to see it, and your client's going to send it to you from Zillow. So use at your own risk.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Is
no
this
worries.
being, you said this is being recorded,
It
correct?
is, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Where can we find it?
It'll be on YouTube at
Okay.
some point here soon.
All right, thank you.
No worries.
Bye, Alex.
Bye.
All right. Garages, I'll kind of speed through the straightforward stuff here. Again, whether or not you want a garage, you've had clients who say like, I absolutely want a garage. If you say yes, and they didn't fill it out, it's helpful to know what is a required field and what's not when you go through and add or edit listing, because then you know that there's a good chance that'll be filled out correctly. Okay. For instance, even if my client says I have to have a 2-car garage, I don't limit the results by that. And I say, we'll screen them visually for that. Okay. So property type, it can be helpful if you know you have a client who does not want a mobile home, but you're trying to keep their criteria as broad as possible. This is a required field. So I would say it's going to have to be a single family residence, right? So that way they're not getting that 5-acre parcel out in Spring Lake that has a mobile home on it, even though they want minimum 5 acres. That makes sense? Straightforward, new construction, the style. If you know your client has to have a 1-story or a ranch, this is a way to do it. Now, what you would do is you would select it, you would add it, and then hit OK. All right. What were you laughing at, Molly?
Well, I do that, and again, like you were saying, you have to be careful, because if they don't input it with what you are selecting.
Yep.
Cause like I've even had people say like, I want something with a bonus room. Well, sometimes I'll do a 1.5 story.
Yep.
But then if I go down and select bonus room, sometimes it won't filter them correctly.
That's right. Yeah. So, and you can do like 1.5 or ranch with bonus.
Yep.
But if that person lists this property as traditional or Cape Cod, guess what's not showing up in your list, right? So yeah, there is an element of that too. If you know that you want to find a home that's in foreclosure, etc., here's a place to select that. Or if you know you don't want a home that's in foreclosure, what do we hit?
No.
There you go. Got it. Okay. So remarks. This is a little trick that we've got. The asterisk is a wild card. So if you know that you want a pool and you want, let me remove all these other limiting factors. I think that one's safe. If you know that your client wants a pool, by the way, to unselect, it took me forever to figure this out. I was like having to clear searches and stuff. Just hit control. Okay. So if you know that you have a client who wants a pool and you want it, or like an investor special, any kind of keyword that it's likely it would be used in the remarks, you can put it here. Now look what happens when I put in these pool. I get 2 matches. I'm using my Mac keys, which I should not be using. Okay. Cool. Now I have over 1,000 matches. So these, yeah, I know. So pool means I want it to say pool, period. Pool asterisks means, I'm gonna not hit that pretty button. These means it can say anything on either side of the word pool, and I want to see it. Okay.
Those like the little stars?
Yeah, just little asterisks. Now, what happens if I only say one star there? That means it's got to say pool and then nothing out, it can say anything after it. Or if you do that, that could be Whirlpool appliances, right? So just be aware, like if you have the asterisks, that is your wild card. The same is true up here. If you're trying to recall the street address, right? Of the house that you were looking for. Here's another place where you can say investor.
How would you word it if they want it on a golf course?
On a golf course?
Yes.
I would probably put golf in there and just manually review it. I don't know. I mean, so there are ways that you can I want to say it's amenities or exterior features. There's a way to say golf frontage, but again, if the agent doesn't fill it out, then you're not going to get it. But there is a golf course view, golf course frontage.
Okay,
It is in there, but you know,
I'm assuming the Mid Carolinas also has that feature.
they do, yeah.
So with the remarks, is it pulling, like, if they selected, let's use Lisa's example of golf.
Yeah,
If they selected it within a golf community, but they didn't put it in the remarks,
Right.
it searches all.
so I was wondering the same thing. I haven't answered it for sure. I know that it is public and private remarks for sure. So that's one way that it's helpful. What I don't know, and I'm not positive that it is all of the fields, but I know it's public and private at a minimum. We could spend some time testing that out, but I'd probably run over if we did that. So let's get an answer back though. Okay, master bedroom, this is the BR here, master bedroom, which is funny because like the association will call us on not using master bedroom, but right now it is still a feature in the what do you call it, like the search criteria, and then bedroom down or any bedroom down. So you know how you can select in your features like master bedroom downstairs? If you do that, then it's gonna show up. But again, if someone doesn't fill it out thoroughly, you're gonna miss homes. So I don't do this. Even if I have an elderly buyer who needs a master bedroom down, but that's an option if you wanted to quickly find something to send. Okay. So we've really gone through, I mean, the schools are self-explanatory. If you knew they didn't want to be in a school district, you could highlight that and hit not as well. Okay, questions on any of this? No? All right. So here's what I want to do. I want to go through the map search. This is a cool little tool. Right now, what criteria do I have? Something about investors, I think. Let's take this off. All right. And, all right. So if we had a client who wanted to be within 30 minutes of the All-American Gate. Here I am, I went from the search criteria. You can get either to it from the map here, this tab, or map search. And if you go to this little card, these are ways to limit the parameters of your search. So you could go to this little card. And I'm going to type in All-American Gate. I think this one will show up. Yeah, All-American Freeway. It's actually a little south of the gate, but for the sake of instruction, I'm going to show you this. You could also, if you knew the exact address, you could Google that and then you can put an address in there. But what you're doing is you're saying, I want it to be within a 30-minute drive on a Monday morning from this location. And look what it shows you. And you can see it's further out on the highways because you can drive further, faster on the highways like that, right? So let's say this is where it kind of gets fun. So I've said, okay, anything within 30 minutes, and this is, I mean, this is how it's an estimate using an algorithm and stuff. So you can come through here and you can say, well, yeah, but they said they're good with Stedman. So I'm going to expand it out here. They said they're good, going a little further out this way. And so you can still adjust it, but it gives you a start point. If you need to change it, you go to change drive time and you can make it, at 6 p.m. on a Friday. I don't know, whatever. So make that. And then, but then they say, but you know what? I do not want to be in Rayford. So a couple different ways you could do this. You could say, you could draw a rectangle and I'm just for the sake of illustration showing you this. You can draw the area where they don't want to be. It's a little bigger, but just as an example. And then you can say, exclude this shape. So now it's going to show me everything that's in a 30-minute radius from my start point, which right now is All-American Freeway, minus this box that I just drew. So this is good if like, I just don't like Hope Mills. I don't want to be there, or I don't want to be in Cameron because that's too far away. You can quickly pull what's in their radius, but limit the areas where they don't want to be. The other way you could do that is, I'm going to delete this, guys. Don't hit delete because that just takes it off altogether. You want to say exclude. So I could also just leave that. That's our drive time. But then I could go to criteria and I could say like not Rayford, right? So then, in that case, it's still gonna pull everything that was in our map, but if it has a city address, it'll just remove that from the list. Any questions on the drive time feature of this map? Nothing? Okay. You can also just draw a radius. So we'll have investors sometimes are like, I have to be within 10 miles of a city center. And you're like, okay, so that's just a simple radius. And so you select that radius, you draw this out, and then there's your shape. All right. The rectangle is for more general areas like that. But the polygon is where you can get a bit more specific. If you know that there are certain areas that they want, but it doesn't fit like a perfect shape, you could draw a polygon like that, okay? And I'm going through this quickly. Are there any questions there? Okay, this is if you wanted to draw it like a pencil. If you need to clear everything, and then if you want to be able to see layers. Let's see here. I don't use this feature as much, but it's an option if you want to use these as guides while you select your areas. Okay, do you have a question, Bob? No? Okay. All right. And then, yeah, recenter is pretty straightforward. Okay, so here's your map. Sometimes too, if I know, for instance, that, oh my goodness, guys, sorry. We're just gonna do that. Okay. If I know that I want only a couple of neighborhoods around an area, and I just want to like find a house and then zoom into an area around it, you could, let's keep using this one. Yeah. So I don't know why that's not working right now, because usually it will. 10, oh, that's right. So if you get a specific, you put it in there, it'll take you to this, okay? Take you right to it. And then you could better, it'll quickly jump you so you could drive your lines. All right. So that's our search. Let's just do real quick. We're going to, I'm going to pull up a search here so we can start playing with the results. Anything active coming soon between 200 and 300. How many options do we have right now? Oh, hey, what have we got in the chat? Oh, good. Glad, Arena. Thank you. 58 matches. So I'm going to go ahead and refine it just a little bit more. At least 3 bedrooms, at least 2 bathrooms. We're still there. A lot of options. So let's do this. No HOA. 49 matches. Cool. All right. Actually, I'm not going to do that because I want to see triangle stuff. So let's go down here to this livable. See, let's go to 1600. All right. So we've got about 40 options that meet the criteria. I like to have 100 viewable so I can see them all. Ways to sort what you've got. What does all this stuff mean? All right. So these are quick ways to get to the photos, to see where it is on the map, and then to jump to their history. These are also all tabs when you open up the listing itself, but these are quick ways to jump to them. This documents sign means that they've uploaded disclosures. So when I'm scrubbing this very quickly for a client, I can tell right off the bat whether or not it has the disclosure. So if I'm going to have to reach out to that agent to ask for them. Note that the triangle listings do not have the disclosures uploaded right now. They've recently been able to integrate so you can see all the photos. I'm going to show you how to do that in a second, but we haven't been able to sync up the documents. So they'll reach out to us or you have to reach out to them to get that. Okay. And then I believe this one is tax information. So let's go ahead and pick one of these up. I'm going to go through these. All right. This is pretty much everything that we were searching for before. I won't go through the details here, but map shows just generally where it's at. This is not dynamic. Oops. It's dynamic if you click on it, but in and of itself, it's not dynamic. It just kind of sits there. You have to go through that extra window. Contract, here's where you find, I know I'm getting a little basic here, but I still do want to address it. Here is where we find all the details that should be included if you present a contract. Okay, if you've entered a listing before, you know that this is, you have to fill this stuff out, right? So you have to put, this is not automatically populated. So this is a really good way to know what the listing agent wants to see when it is submitted. Okay, your exclusions and your inclusions are here as well as private remarks. Okay. Record. This is an abbreviated version of what's in Realist. It's based on Realist. Okay. And this shows you, note here that the mortgage history is not here. It does have the last sale. And you can see, you know, the square footage and the tax changes. So if you need to quickly estimate mortgage payments and things, if you know the principal and interest, generally, like, you need to quickly guess how much taxes they're going to pay in a year or in a month, here you go. This is your last year of taxes right here. All right, acreage, all that in one place. If a home is in foreclosure status of any kind, it'll be in this foreclosure tab. All right, flood map, super helpful. You can check to see where the home is in relation to the overall flood zone here. All right. Photos, pretty self-explanatory. And then history. Maybe this one has some, yeah, this has some good history. Okay, so you can also see price changes here. So it came up into coming soon status, what, like a couple weeks ago? It's about to expire here soon. When it switches to active, it'll tell you the date when active. And then if there's a price reduction, it will also show you that here. And we can try to find that in another listing if we have time. You can see the last time it sold. You can see if it went pending multiple times the last time it sold, or even more recently. And that kind of maybe a clue to you, hey, I need to find out why this keeps going under contract and falling out. Okay, and here's your history. You can also see, you know, did it get flipped around very quickly? Maybe what's going on there. So it's just, it helps you to know, you know, more than just what the current listing is saying about the home. All right. There's a little bit of mortgage history here as well under that history. 3 different views in the parcel map. This is just like the street, so you can see measurements. It's much simpler, but then you have the satellite images and the layers. Now here, remember that means layers. You can add from here a lot of the same stuff that we saw in Realist. You can add it as well to be able to view when you're looking in the listing. I'm curious if this is going to show the actual one or if it'll show the. It's going to take a minute to load. Yeah, so this is showing elementaries there. Okay. Questions? All right. So that is all of these tabs. If you go to view comparable properties, this can be a very quick way to see what has closed recently that the algorithm says is comparable. That does not mean that this is a quick comp analysis or CMA, but it can be helpful. I would just say check it, and if it seems relevant, then it's like, okay, that's a good sign. The neighbor is currently pending at 259. I didn't have to do a search to find that. I found that under just hitting one little button, so that's helpful. It is typically default arranged by distance, so that's nice. But if you wanted to prioritize any other characteristic, you could as well by clicking, this is true in your results page as well, by clicking the status or the date. Okay. Back to results. All right. So let's go back real quick to agent one line CMA display, which is my default. I like to see price per square foot. Let me just show you too. You can add, go to settings here. You can set, oh goodness, let me have manage display here. Where do y'all hold up one second. Trying to add. I just did this yesterday. Why am I blinking? So many buttons. Where you can add. How do we do this, guys? What am I missing? Insert a column. So you can add a column here. I love the price per square foot column. I think that is a very helpful data point. So you can search for a column that you consider, a data point that you consider helpful and add that to your list here, and then you can set it as a default view. So pretty much everything that I have has a price per square foot, so I can start to see the trends in price per square foot of a neighborhood. So you would select this, it's already in here, so it's not going to show up. But any of this stuff could be added. Due diligence period. The electric company, is there a garage? Like if you wanted to see that here, I don't know why you would, but if you did, you could add that by clicking on one of these, insert column, or even remove a column if it's not helpful. Okay, then you apply it and then you can save it as your default. All right. Now let me show you this real quick. So when I go to a triangle listing, this is what I see. It's gonna allow me to see. Oh, it is showing all the photos. That's great. It was not before. So that's good. That's a new feature. One thing I was going to show you is, you're missing some data here, right? But it's increasingly populated. If you go to display TR MLS full listing report, and you click this here, now you have everything that they fill out in their triangle MLS. So a lot of it's the same information, it's just formatted differently in the database. So all that missing info is right here.
What about their disclosures?
The disclosures, you still have to call and have them emailed. Yeah, it's the one thing that's not yet integrated. You can see the photos there too, right? So I do still want to talk about starting an auto email and like what we do with all of our results. So let's go back to this. Any question about what I've talked about with managing all of this? Okay, this tells me there's an open house on this property coming up. So you could also search for upcoming open houses, right? So let's go down here. Oh, go away, Zoom. So no worries, guys. You can go back to criteria. You can change your criteria that way. All right. Going back to my results. You could, if you were like, okay, out of all of these properties, I want to send them all to a client. This is that moment that I was telling you about where you don't need to have a contact saved. You could just send it real quick to somebody here. Okay. You can print them and it's going to ask you how you want to print. For now, let me go ahead and use this to show you something. Who knows the 1004 MC? Okay. Cool. I'm gonna go real fast. I'm gonna pick a neighborhood. Let me hear. We're gonna do. Got there. 4 matches. Let me take this off. Anything 200 to 300 in College Lakes. That's coming soon or active. Wow, there's not, that's not a lot of options. I'm kind of surprised by that. So when we want to show a client, like we're going to a listing presentation, what's happening in their neighborhood, it can help to show them everything that is under contract, sold, or active. Go to results. I like to filter this by price per square foot. Go away, Zoom, please, so I can thank you. So, or like by size. Oopsies. Sorry, guys. So I'll have this like arranged by size. And then what you can do is you select them all. You go to print, that's how we got here. And you go to 1004 MC market conditions. The only option you have is to work with it in a PDF. You can't mess with the data at all, but here's what it shows you very briefly. Is it will automatically sort by status, but then it will also show you the data for anything that's in that neighborhood that fits the criteria that you set. And so it can be helpful to do this for a client if you're either going to a listing presentation and you want to show them the market trends, like, hey, where you want to price is at $200 a square foot. And as you can see, nothing is selling at that price in the whole neighborhood. So we got to talk about that. You can also see how long homes are sitting on the market. You could, you show them like, hey, yeah, these went pending, sure. This is priced at a higher price per square foot, but it took them 42 days to sell it. Okay, so. I don't know if this is helpful, but there's a lot, again, when we talk about market data, there's a lot you can pull out of here.
It also helps for submitting offers on property. If you can look up the list to sale price. You can know like what's going over on what's being accepted on average for over.
Yep.
So that's what I used it for,
Yeah,
was to pull up the market data for that and to tailor my offer as such.
that's great. Look, sale price to list price ratio right here. Pretty much everything except for one of these is over 100. Yeah. Never used it that way. I like it. That's better than just arbitrarily saying 5,000 over.
Exactly,
Yeah,
yeah,
I like it.
you actually have hard data to support, and it's not like you're trying to tell them to pay over for a house, it's showing them the hard data of what is actually winning
Yeah,
offers over on a house.
that's fantastic. So 1004 MC, very powerful tool you can use on all sides. It also just helps if you're watching your own neighborhood. So these are all different ways to print your the list that you had. All of these my's are views that I have saved. So if I wanted to print it in that format, I would select these. But you could do agent one line. You could do agent one line with photo. You could look for the agent if you need to print the agent full, which you'll have to do for compliance. You have a lot of options here. Okay, but that's the print tab. Share link, I think that's pretty self-explanatory. If you had a house that you needed to do a CMA on, let's say you searched for a property, you found the last listing, you wanted to CMA it, you could start your CMA. That'll take you back to that first CMA screen that I showed you, if you click that, right? This is all pretty, I think, straightforward. Refining. So if this was an auto email, and I wanted to delete properties that I know that client isn't going to want, I may select a couple and discard them so that when the client is in one home, they're not seeing it and it's not getting messy, right? So the next thing is, let's say, you remember the criteria that we had here. It's Fayetteville, $200 to $300 or $200,000 to $300,000. So you could create, this is how you start a saved search. If you knew that this was like your investment criteria, you could have a saved search that you're watching, or you could start a new auto email. Let me do this here. So I have nothing selected, just my criteria, new auto email. And this is where I begin the email for my client. So this is where I told you have to create a contact. All these yellow fields are required. Okay. And then this is where I can change all my stuff, what I want it to say. The welcome email is what they get the first time. The recurring email is what they'll get every time. So make sure that is, whatever's in here is you're either updating it every time you make a change, or you're not using it at all, because, and then here's the criteria that I had bold. All right. Carts. So a cart to me is very similar to a saved search. Does anyone use carts differently? No? Yeah. Sometimes if I have if I wanted to show, if someone was open to houses all over, but I needed to kind of be, I guess, more specific in the criteria that I was searching, and I wanted to send them a bundle of very manually chosen properties that don't really fit in a search, I would add a cart. And then you could go back to that cart, select all, and email them to them all at once, right? So that's how, if you're kind of using multiple search criteria, you could add lots to it. Then that's a way to gather them all up in one. It's not a single saved search and send it out. All right. Okay, so this is pretty much everything in here. Let's go real quick to stats. I know we're starting to run out of time, but this is a place where you can look at, so it looks a lot like in InfoStats, it's just a little less dynamic. So, I mean, you may choose to use InfoStats, but this is a way to find some key real estate data at the kind of the macro level on our market, right? You can also customize a report. So what sometimes I'll like to show not just the sold price to original price, but maybe days on market, put them against each other and see, and that'll show me a nice little chart for that, just as an example. I normally would walk through it, but again, I'm running out of time and I don't want to go over. Questions on stats, like any can use. Oh. All right, we talked about what realist is. Whoops, sorry. Finance. So this is a place where you can just find some calculators for your clients if you don't already have a go-to website for that. Okay, honestly, I forget that these are here, but they're helpful if you use them. A version of the net proceeds sheet. If you need to just do some quick math while you're on a call or something. Okay. I think that's all straightforward. If you need to add or edit a listing, this is where you would do it. Let me go here real quick. You could also do a quick modify, select all your, whichever one you want to edit, and then you put this in here. Okay. I don't like. Boop, boop, boop. The residential new construction, that's the full listing form. You've never put it in a listing. This is where you will actually change all the information in your listing. I'm going to cancel this real fast. If you need to make a price change, they'll give you just the details you need to here. If you want to set an open house for it, this is where you submit the open house so that it populates to the public sources as well. Thanks, Alexa. And then if you need to change the status, okay? Adding photos, managing documents via transaction desk. One thing I do want to quickly pull up here is that when you add documents to a listing from transaction desk, it looks like this. And many of you are going to be familiar with it if it pulls up. It's not pulling up. So I'm just going to go ahead. But what I want to point out is that transaction desk looks different when you are not adding it to a listing. And I say that because if you have a listing that you have withdrawn and then, or you duplicated and you added another one, sometimes, I can't explain why, transaction desk will sync up the documents for both of those listings and you have to go in here and delete them one by one from that listing. It's a little more complicated, so I won't spend the time here on how to do it, but I do want to make you aware that that's something to think about. If you have multiple recent listings for the same address under your account within the same contract period, there's a chance that you could end up showing documents that you didn't intend to show. Okay. I know it doesn't, and I'm still not entirely sure how that happens, but it did. And I had to spend an hour trying to figure out how to get them taken down. All right, so that is the add edit tab. One last cool thing I want to show you here. Canopy MLS covers out towards Charlotte. Did you know you can access it? Intra-matrix canopy, boom. So because it's the same, okay, thank you, yes. I'm not a member of Canopy, by the way. I've got Triangle and Moore County and Longleaf, but not Canopy. But I can, because they're the same MLS, and this is another way to integrate the data, just like we did with Triangle. Now you can search the Canopy data, just the same way, same fields. Theirs may look a little different, but this is a way. If you had, it has happened that we would get a listing that in our market or even out toward the west a little bit that you want to be able to work and it's in Canopy. This is how you access it. Okay. So that's pretty easy to navigate to. Market report, well, links are what we've already covered for the most part. So let me focus on market reports. You can, in here, you can see your market share, out of all the longleaf pine agents and teams, you can find out where your ranking is on that. You can look at your productivity. If you need some quick numbers, you can get that from command as well. But as at least exclusive to the longleaf pine, you can see that in here. Okay, there's also other trends. I would suggest this is just, I want to call your attention to it so that you can play with that if you want to look at production, right? And then these links, these are helpful for getting very quickly to at least the highest level of a county's public record documents. So there's probably a more, so for instance, I want to say if I go to Cumberland County Register of Deeds, Yeah, this does not take me to that first page, that yellow page where you have to acknowledge the disclaimer. You have to navigate to that, but this at least takes me to the high level page very quickly. If you needed to find that straight out of here. The same is true for all of the counties that it officially covers. All right. So, let me know, are there any questions that you have so far on this? There is plenty more to dig into, but I hope that you've at least found one or two things that you weren't already using. Did anyone else? Did anyone
Yes.
find something new? Yeah. Yeah, what's up? Yeah, go for it.
Production, can you go back to that screen?
So
it's market.
I would go to agent market share, go to max 5,000, so you get all of them. And then you can literally just production for the year by total volume. And this is if you wanted to find your ranking. Obviously, if you wanted to see production at a price point or whatever, you could filter this in all the ways that they had, but it'll generate a report for you. And you search for your ID and find yourself on here.
Oh,
One thing to know is that because they now have Longleaf, and if you are a Triangle member, you're gonna have both IDs in here. So like on the buy side, half of my buyer listings have been closed out using my Triangle ID. So my ranking actually only shows part of the production. So that's just something to think about. If you're like, oh my gosh, no, I thought I did more. That may be why, if you have another MLS ID. Okay,
thank you.
no worries. All right. What else? Anyway, I hope it was helpful. I hope that even if you've been using this for a while, you found some new tools. And if not, maybe just reinforce some things. Every time I go in here, I have, tools or options that I'm thinking, no, I should use that, and I keep forgetting. So any questions?
That's great.
You're not required to stay, but if you have questions, want to go over anything, let me know.
Is the person still on here that wanted to know about how to use Realist for mailers?
Realist for mailers. Oh yeah, no worries. Thank you. Who was asking about Realist for mailers? Was that you, Jasmine? And are you still on? Whoever it was. Well, let's do it. Let's show everybody if you're willing.
Yeah, I just gotta do something.
Yeah, no worries. Thank you for sticking around for it. So Molly's going to walk us through using Realist for mailers here. Let me get out of the way.
So you're fine.
Yeah, try.
So there's a couple different ways you can do it. The first is to go to my search in Realist. And then like somebody mentioned, you can come down here and search neighborhood.
Ooh.
So somebody give me a neighborhood. Anderson Creek. Where select from this. Oh,
This was thinking like my search.
oh, because you have it on,
Yeah.
you have it on just Hope.
Oh, got it. Makes sense. Yeah, I remember doing that.
Oh, why is it being weird?
Yeah. It go down the bottom right to apply. It's the gap. Just kidding.
Oh, so we covered up by.
Zoom. You got just, gotta be kind of like finesse it there. Try to get-
It's necessary. All the time.
I tried, yeah.
Yeah, they have.
Oh, no, it's not working.
All the time. It's either-
Okay, let's just keep one in.
Okay. Westgate.
Right. Right.
Okay, so if you search this, you have to select all of them. Because Westgate has the different locations. You've got the hollies, the maples, the pines, the oaks, all of that. So you can search all of these, and then they're also subbed out by the sections of those sections. So you can apply that. And then search. It shows you every house that's in Westgate.
Is there easier, oh, you can get reports and get like in a different format or something?
Yeah, so you can, I'm sorry, I'm not super good with not a Mac.
I know, that's right.
Where is? Where's our list on here?
Yeah,
I
so
was doing that one
Right,
yesterday.
check on here.
Export
Export,
versus export.
Really? Yeah,
Ugh.
so you can do a quick export and then you can select the fields you want exported. So if it's the address, the zip code, the name, second owner's name. I usually just like, if I'm just doing a mailing list, I just select owner and second owner, the address. Depending on how it's filtered, you may have to select like street number, street name, city, zip code, all of that.
Gotcha.
And if you do that, it's going to, and once you click export, it's going to send you a list and show you everybody that owns a home in that neighborhood.
That is awesome.
Then I'm not going to teach you how to do this part, but you can go into mail merge and create a mailing list that will then print labels for you and put their names in. Like if you're sending out a golden letter, it'll say, "Dear Mr. Smith," because it's pulled the data from what you've exported. So you can do it that way. You can also have it do like, you can do like these weird parentheses things and then put the address and it can say, "Dear Mr. Smith, I noticed you own a home at 123 Main Street. I have a client looking for something similar. Are you interested in selling your home?" So it can make it more customized. Another way to do it is to go to the quick search and let's just use 1037 Fairfield. Why is it not pulling? No, it's in the neighborhood. Okay, so St. John's Loop. So you could search this. And go back to the map. And then you could just draw a polygon. And do the same thing. And say, okay, well, I also want to include people who are in Bridgeport North, that's right down the road. So you can create your polygon outside the lines of the neighborhood, if you know the neighborhood well enough to do that. Sometimes they're a little tricky, right? So we may just want to search all of this. Again, search. And then you're gonna pull, same thing, export, quick export, select what you want to.
When can you hit labels real fast?
Yeah,
So it'll give you the, if you wanted to print out, you knew the kind of labels, if you were doing golden letters. Yeah.
and you can also say, do you want it to go to their tax billing address or the actual property address? Because what if somebody owns that home and now it's a rental and they live in Virginia?
Yeah.
So we'll send that letter to where they live. So there's a couple different ways to do it. I'm gonna encourage you to search the mail merge thing on your own, because that's a whole nother class.
Yeah.
But it's pretty easy and I usually do it by the address, because usually there's other neighborhoods right around it that I wanna pull. I don't wanna just pull that neighborhood, so I can look at the map and go, oh yeah, I wanna pull in Bridgeport, I wanna pull in Hogarth Street or whatever that's right around it.
And it's not the scope of this class, but while we're talking about this, if you're thinking golden letter, you want to send out your own envelopes, this is a great way to get those addresses and tools. If you want to send out like the direct mailers, the big, like thick flyers, you can do that through command, and you can select, for instance, if you want to say, hey, this home just sold for 30 over asking price, you could select that whole neighborhood, unselect the home you just sold, because that's rude, and send it direct mailed out to everybody else, right? That's an option. So just know that it's kind of two different, not related to this, but on that topic.
Yeah, and there's another way too, like I've gone in, because maybe some of these homes are listed. So I'll go in and I'll remove those homes because I can't market to somebody who's listed.
Yeah.
So you can go in and, if it's listed pending, like sometimes I don't want to send it to somebody that's in foreclosure, and it'll show you those things so you can filter out. I can't figure out how to do I don't know where the list option is on here.
Like to the bottom, like through the,
Ooh.
oh, to turn it into a list?
Yeah.
I thought that was as you export it, or maybe print.
No, there's a way, like there's a,
Okay.
I do have a question about exporting addresses for mailers. So I've actually never done it in Realist. I've been learning how to do it through RPR. Do you like, is one more accurate than the other?
I don't use RPR, so I don't know the answer to that.
Okay. I didn't know we could do it through Realist, and I learned how to do it through RPR, and that's why I was like, is there like, is one better than the other? Because I know RPR, like, it does have some old names and old addresses. Like, no, I know it's old.
I would assume the local databases are more accurate, but you could do this same exercise in both and see if you get, if there's a variation. And
Okay.
see which one looks more current, based on the rest of it, if you really want to dig into that.
Yeah,
How'd you get here?
I had to scoot over
Oh, yeah, that whole screen.
the whole script because of the Zoom. So you can also, like, these little red dots indicate something. So like this indicates a property that's active. Well, maybe I don't want to select them.
Okay.
This one's pending
Mhm.
or expired. So yeah, maybe I want to send them one. This usually means sold within the last 3 months. And then you have all of these, and you can also go through this list and say, oh, you know what, I don't think. Okay, so Hobart, this is a good example. This is not the same neighborhood as Westgate because I drew the polygon. So maybe I don't want to send it and I can uncheck all of those people. But it'll give you all kinds, you know, so you have your owner's name, owner two name, when it recorded. So when did it sell? You know what, this person might likely be selling it soon. Maybe I should send them a letter.
Yeah, maybe you could filter by recording date.
Yep.
Recent to the latest. That's good.
And then this has all your MLS data, which is not really unless you wanted to say like, oh, I have somebody that's looking for a 3-bedroom, 2-bath in Westgate. Well, you're not gonna send it to a 5-bedroom. So you could filter it for your needs that way. And then it doesn't have it on here, but it does have, like, when you export that data, it'll have their tax address, their mailing address, you know, all of the different things you can use. So it can be time consuming, but it's useful.
It's time consuming, so nobody else does it.
Bingo.
So, yeah.
So we've covered a lot today. As you marinate on it, any questions, any more questions or thoughts? Okay, we will have this recorded. So if you're like, man, what was that thing? It'll be on the YouTube. Also feel free to say, reach out to your mentor, reach out to me, reach out to anybody, feel comfortable asking if there's a problem you're trying to fix and you just don't know how to go after it. Okay. All right, guys, thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Thanks, Zoom. I just have to make sure we don't have any other questions here. All right.